Well, tonight we're going to get started with our speaker for the evening, Jamey Shannon. He's a DSA member and board member, and he's been a terrific singer-songwriter, of course, guitar player. He's also been an educator. He's been teaching at a college in Mississippi for many, many years, and I understand he just retired from that. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean you're going to just sit home like us other retired guys? You're going to get out and keep doing stuff, Jamey?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still working through that right now. So yeah, we'll see. A couple of colleges have reached out, and I'm not interested in the full-time gig, but they asked me if I would pick up some adjunct classes. So I may teach a class every here and there, every once in a while.
Well, good. You got to keep your hand in.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Jamey's gonna he's quite the educator, and he's gonna show us DADGAD tuning, which is a tuning I'm not that familiar with. I don't know if anybody else is, but he tells us that singer-songwriters are use that just to give themselves a different thing to listen to help inspire them to write new music or new songs and do something that might be a little bit different and maybe use it, you know, more than you might think, I suppose. But because it's supposed to be a pretty intriguing tuning, and it's supposed to be pretty easy to learn too. Is that right, Jamey?
It is right. It is good. The songwriter version's very easy.
Good, good. Well, why don't you get us started on that and
All right, we'll get
tell us
going
all.
here. It's the background on this thing is it's a Celtic tuning. It's from Ireland. That's where it came from. And if you jump into it heavily, which I'm not doing tonight, we're going to talk about as it applies to singer-songwriters. But if you really jump into it, the fingerings are no easier or more difficult than standard tuning. And there are people that exclusively play DADGAD. They do finger style on it. Uh, that's just the way they play. But the background is over there. Where I got into it, and many of you guys are going to be familiar with this guy, is I got to play some festivals with a guy named Clay Mills, who kind of runs Songtown with a partner. And songwriter, if you're not familiar with him, I think the last time I checked, he had like 70 something legit cuts. Um, 25 or 30 top 25s, 10 top fives, and two number ones. So he lives and works in Nashville and is quite accomplished at this. So I got the opportunity to play several festivals with this guy. And since he was the big shot, and obviously I'm not, I couldn't get very close to him. But I noticed he was his tuning. He was definitely in an alternate tuning. You could tell that from 50 rows back. But I never really got close enough to him. Everybody was always around him. He's a superstar guy at these events, so I never got close to him. And then at a festival in the Mississippi Delta about a year ago from right now, we got placed in the same hotel, which was absolutely wonderful. So the first time I ever got some one-on-one time with Clay, and he was super. I got to share some of my songs with him. He gave me some evaluations, gave me some tips. Just a great guy, and I had the opportunity to go. What are you doing with this tuning? What is this thing you're up to? And he said, it's DADGAD. And I said, okay, I'll elaborate. Let's keep going here. And he went exactly like Michael was saying. He said he wrote for years in standard tuning. And all he writes in right now is DADGAD, pretty much, almost exclusively. And he said that it just gave him a different tonal palette. It gave different voicings. He said he got to where, and I do this, I know that I do it. You get ready to, you're writing a song, you're working on songs, your hands go to the same chords. They go to the same keys that you're used to singing in. You end up playing a lot of, or I do, I'm saying what you guys do, but you guys are great songwriters. I say play some of the same progressions even. And this whole DADGAD thing just opened up the world for him, especially melodically, especially with ideas of new melody uh, palettes and voicings that you can hear. It's got a lot of open string drone tunes, and what I'm going to show you tonight is what he uses almost exclusively, and it's not but 6 chords, maybe 7. I may show you another one on there, but 6 basic chord patterns that you can use. Another advantage of this particular one, these particular 6. Now, like I said, if you're really into DADGAD, that your fingers are going to be just as complicated as any other tuning that you might want to use. But in the key of D, which you have so many Ds, you can play most of the chords with 1 or 2 fingers, which he says he loves to do because he can just write and just be creative, and he's not thinking about complex guitar playing at the writing stage. Also, if you're a keyboard player but you want to play on guitar, if you're a lyricist and you don't really play a lot, or you're a keyboard player and you don't have your keyboard with you, really hard to carry those grand pianos around, and you want to just dabble in guitar and you haven't done that, this is really, really a good tuning to do that, because the chord patterns are so easy, absolutely so easy to play with just a couple of fingers to get you rolling there. So anyway, let's jump into it. I'm going to grab my guitar and we're going to go through these chords. We're going to play some different progressions and see if it's anything you might want to add into your repertoire, anything you might want to use and jump on. So if you just came in with us, take a second and tune. You're going to drop your 6th string and your 1st string a whole step. You're going to drop your E's down to D's, and then you're going to drop your 2nd string A. I'm sorry, your 2nd string B. You're going to drop down to an A. So you change 3 strings in your tuning. So we got D, A, D, G, A, D, DADGAD. That's where they've got the name, the acronym from. So drop your 6th a step, drop your 1st a step, drop your 2nd a step, and get that rolling right there, and then we're going to jump into it. All right, now what Clay does is, and somebody mentioned the capo a minute ago, and you may want to do that if you want to move these to another key. Clay, and again, I'm just using his pattern. I didn't come up with this. I'm just sharing with you something that somebody shared with me in a hotel in the Mississippi Delta. He plays everything in D, but then just because you write it in DADGAD doesn't mean it has to stay there. I wrote a song in DADGAD, and when we got to the studio, they just changed all the chords over to normal chord voicings. He wrote the #1 hit, Darius Rucker's Don't Think I Don't Think About It, Don't Think I Don't Have Regrets. He wrote it on his tour bus with DADGAD. So that song, which went to #1, stayed #1 for a really, really long time, was actually written DADGAD. That's where you got those melodies and those harmonies from for that particular song. All right, so let's look at this thing for a second. Your D chord, if you got your tuning right, you can put a finger on the 3rd string and the 2nd fret and play all 6 strings, and you get this huge D. You got this huge, big, thick D sounding. Really cool. And it's got no 3rd. Okay, so if you're a music guy, now he pays no attention to these extra notes and not having a 3rd or whatever. I taught music theory at a college for 13 years, and I can't help it. My mind goes to the analyzation, but in practice, you don't go there. You don't worry about that. It doesn't have a 3rd though for you music guys, and it also well, this one's, it just doesn't have a 3rd. So there's your 1 chord. So everybody's got your 1 chord going with 1 finger. Your 1 chord going with 1 finger. All right, we're going to skip the E minor for a second. That's your 2. We're going to go to your 4 chord, which you go to the 5th fret. You're going to fret the 6th string and 5th string, mute the 4th, and I'm going to talk about that for a second. And there's your 4. So there's my 4 chord. And then your A is going to be your 5. So you go to the A, that's your last one there. You're going to be playing your 4th and 3rd string in the 2nd fret, mute your 6th string, and there's your A. Okay, so if I was going to do our super simple 1-4-5 structure that we played so much in, we kind of got this feel going at a measure each. 1, 4, 5, 1. Start over. 1, 4, 5, and back to 1. Okay, so I'll talk about these for just a second. When we get to that 4 chord, you've got a drone open A sounding in that chord, all right, which obviously in the chord tone. But it's this whole vibe of having this cool sound that helps you come up with new melodies in the DADGAD thing. So it's cool. It's kind of known for having open drone strings that don't necessarily fit. That A, if you want to play the theory game, and like I said, the people that do this don't. All right, you just play the chords and write songs and just go. Clay just plays these chords and writes songs. But if you want to think about it, the A is a 2 or a 9, according to where you are in your chord structure. So you've got an A added into a G chord. Also, the D on the 4th string is muted. Now that D is a chord tone, so you do not have to mute that string if you don't want to. It gets a little muddy sometimes having those so many low notes that are on top of each other, but if you don't want to mute that where that X is, you do not have to. It absolutely works. Another real cool variation, if you play that G chord and you do the 5th fret on the 4th and 5th string, you'll actually use where the X is and leave that D in your bass, then you got this really cool low D, which is the 5th of the chord, sounding in the bass. And when he writes songs, a lot of times he'll do that variation right there. So there's the G. When we go to the A, jump down to the A, you're gonna mute the 6th string, of course, and in your A you have a drone D sounding. That's not a chord tone, and that's a 4th if you analyze a 4th or 13th. So it's almost like a sus chord, you know, that we commonly call that. So you've got that drone D going, and that's really part of the whole vibe of it. When he was first explaining this to me, I was going, hey, well, I want to take that string and make it into a chord tone. And you can sure do that if that's what you want to do. But the whole creative feel vibe thing is to have that open string going. And it's almost always a 2nd or a 4th. Almost every one of them is a 2nd or 4th. So that's what you got going there. Let's do the 1, 4, 5 again. And then we can come back and get these minors in there. All right, so here we go. We got 1 chord. Go to the 4 chord. It's your G5 chord. And back to the 1 again. And then we got the 1 happening again. Back to the 4. And the 5. And back to the 1. All right, so let's jump in and get the rest of our chords in there so we can be songwriters. All right, your 2 chord is an E minor. All right, so your E minor, you've got the 6th and 5th strings fretted in the 2nd fret. Once again, your 4th string is muted. It does not have to be. That D is a chord tone. It does not have to be. And it also gives you the same option that we talked about on the G chord. You can actually fret the 5th and 4th string, and you can leave that D down in the bottom of that E minor, and it sounds pretty good. They slide around a lot on that. I'm going to the E minor to a G, and I'm leaving that D in the bass. Again, cool vibe while you're coming up with cool lyrics and that kind of stuff. Also, just like this pattern, you guys are going to pick up on it, that drone A is in there. So I got a 4. Once again, I got a 4 or 13 ringing in there if you want to get technical. But again, I keep saying that because that's my theory background. But the guys that do this don't think that way. They let, it's just a drone. It's just an open drone A that's going in there. But if you want to think technically, you know, of course, you can analyze it that way. The B minor involves 3 fingers. That's your 6th chord. So this is the only one that's going to get into having to use 3 fingers. So this is just super, super simple. You guys see the thing right there. I don't need to explain that to you. And the B, once again, has that drone A, which is going to be the actually it's a seven. It can be a B minor seven, but the drone A is in there with, and again we don't really think about it that way. It's just a drone A. So you got that 6 chord happening. I'm gonna play a 1 6 2 5 1. Everybody with me? I'm gonna play the 1. I'm gonna play the D. Then I'm gonna play the B minor, the 6, and then I'm gonna go to the E minor, which is the 2. Then the A, which is a 5, and then I'm going to drop back into 1. Okay, here we go. So I got D going. There's my 1. Going to the 6, to the 2. Now I'm going to a 5, which is an A, and now back to the D, the 1. Pretty cool progression. Now I threw this C in just to give you a couple options because it's the same exact fingering as the B minor. If you take the B minor and you move it up 1 fret, then you got a C. Once again, the C has the A in it. If you want to get technical, I know we got our music people here. A C with the A in it is got a 6, or it's got the same exact notes as an A minor 7. It gives you some more variations if you want to think about that. But the C is just, you just move up the B minor 1 fret and you got a C. If we use it in the context of the key of D, it's a secondary dominant. It's actually the 4 of 4. It's the 4 of G. So typically, if you didn't want to do anything way out there and you wanted to use that C chord in this progression, that C chord would resolve to a G, and then the G could go to the 5, the A, and then you're right back in D. And that puts you right back in D. So that C major, which is not diatonic in this key, it is a secondary dominant, and it'll almost always, I say almost always, you can do whatever you want to do creatively, but it'll resolve to a G, and then when you get it back to the G, you're back in the key of D, and you can just roll with kind of whatever kind of progression you got rolling there. So what do y'all think? Anybody hear them? I mean, what do the sound of these sound like to you? Anything usable or cool or creative?
Sounds pretty exotic.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? They're pretty cool. I'm going to do that 1625 again. Uh, back to the 1, the 6, the B minor, the 2, the E minor, the 5, the A, and back to the big fat D on the 1. So interesting stuff. And from a songwriter perspective, just to give you a different palette, let you come up with a different song. I've got a couple of them written there. Here's part of one of mine. Moonlight pattern slipping in, the sun will soon rise again. You know what I'll see when it comes up, the girl of my dreams, in my old t-shirt, and I'm loving living life with you. I'm loving living life with you. Oh, it's true that all I ever want to do is live life loving you. Okay, I won't bore with you any more of that, but there's a song written in DADGAD. And like I said, there's been some number ones that stayed number one for a month that people like Darius Rucker's Don't Think I Don't Think About It, that was actually written in the DADGAD tuning. So it's an interesting thing, and just another set of information, another tuning to have in your toolbox. If you're playing your regular chords and your melody is not doing anything, it's not going where you want it to go, switch over to DADGAD, play around with it, and see if some great inspiration pops out or something.
Is,
But that, in a quick nutshell, is
that the only,
is
okay. Is that the only chord chart, or is there different variations? Is it just those six chords?
oh no, it is absolutely, you can play absolutely any chord in the DADGAD system, and you can do it without these drone in notes. Like if you want the chord and you do not want a two or a nine or a four, ringing in there open, then yes. Now the fingerings are much more like the fingerings of our tunings and standard tuning. You use all your fingers and uh, play all the strings, and but you can play jazz, you can play blues, you can play classical, finger style, chord melody. There are people that are just
Have,
gurus in this, but kind of from my perspective, tonight wasn't there because I just got this from Clay, and he uses just this. He does everything in G, and if he wants to change key, he does it with a capo. In fact, he keeps the capo on the second fret. So I guess maybe that's where he sings. That's where he wants it. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, a full any key, any chord, diminished, augmented, minor sevenths, major sevenths, anything you wanted to do is available in DADGAD tuning. You can Google it and pop up, 10 pages of chord charts will pop up for you.
have you done this against another guitar playing, like taking a guitar and capoing it up, and then having this drone go, and then adding another guitar on top of that?
I have. I
Just
have.
regular with regular tuning and
With
playing
regular
against.
tuning, yes, I have. And it works really well. It works fine. It just adds a little bit more color. Just a little bit more
Oh, I
color.
can hear a violin on top of that, just going nuts.
Right. Yes, I have done that. And like my song that I just played part of, and when I took that in the studio, the session guys they didn't want to mess with that guy. They didn't want anything about it. So they just took my chords and just played them all in standard notation. And it was kind of cool too because I wrote the song in DADGAD. So I wrote the melody in DADGAD. And when they put that same melody back on top of the regular normal tuning chords,
Uh-huh.
it was kind of a cool vibe. It was kind of cool. I mean,
That's
it
what
was
I'm
cool.
hearing when you're playing there. I was playing against it, and it's yeah, I like it.
I do too. I do too. And
So
when
it'd
they
be
went
nice.
back,
You ever tried it
I
with a 12 string, or would that be difficult to do?
no, it wouldn't be difficult at all. And when we went in the studio, I wrote the melody, which is what Clay Mills is so excited about. So it gives you just all these tonal things where you come up with really cool melodies. Well, I kept my DADGAD melody, and then when the session players put it back in standard tuning, I stayed with what I wrote in DADGAD, and it was really a cool vibe. It was
Good.
cool.
I like to hear
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
Is
yeah.
it difficult to do like little melodic lines between the chord changes or anything like that on the guitar, or is that something you do vocally or have another instrument do?
You could definitely do that. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
yeah, definitely do that. It absolutely works.
So it's pretty wide open. This kind of tuning and stuff makes it kind of
It
like
does,
when you used to do an E, tune everything in E or something like that.
right, and that's actually what he said. The four that Clay Mills uses for songwriting, and I keep going back to him, but he uses DADGAD. He uses DADGAD exclusively now, but he recommends standard DADGAD, drop D, and open E. So that's the four, and all of those are just to give you a different perspective, just to get you out of whatever kind of melodic writing. Probably rut's not the right word, but whatever you're in, where you're doing the same thing over and over and over, just to give you kind of a fresh perspective, let your ear hear some different tones ringing, and hopefully come up with that melody that gives you an absolutely incredible song.
So there's a book I can get, or there's a chart place I can.
Yes, there is a book. I have a really good book. Uh, I'm, I can see it. I can see it. No. Okay, this one, I'm not trying to sell books, but this one was recommended to me uh, right there. Complete uh, DADGAD guitar method. And it has full chord charts in it and everything in the world. I surely don't have to choose this one. There are many, many more out there. If you just Google it, they will show up. But yes, answer your question. There are books where you can jump all over this if you want to do it. But like I
Oh,
said,
I want to do it. It's I love. I played kind of a drone Neils lots of times, and yeah, I can see it. Yeah, it's great.
yeah, it's really cool. And but you'll notice now when you really jump into it, they're not going to be these two finger chords. This is something that is used to a thing to just really give songwriters a very, very simple introduction to this, to give them a different tonal palette to use. So the chords are going to become as complex as any chords that you play anytime when you jump into it with the book, the full chord charts and all
What's
that.
the history? Where did this come from? Did he just?
It
It
comes
just goes
from Ireland. It's
Ireland. Yeah.
Celtic. It's Celtic. Yeah,
Uh,
it's Celtic, and the history's from Ireland. And a lot of Irish guitar players, they grow up using this, and that's it's like standard tuning, from what I understand, to them. It's just the way they play guitar. It's really pretty cool.
uh, yeah, there's a lot of Celtic music up here in Missouri, so I was.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Yeah, very good. So I'm not an expert in it by any means. Like I said, I was just fortunate enough to spend some time with a guy who uses it almost exclusively. And not only does he do that, he's incredibly successful songwriter, um, that you uses these chords. So you can learn these. I mean, some of you playing along with me, you know them right now. You can use them right now. I mean, they're so simple. As soon as we leave this meeting, you go write you a song with DADGAD. This super simple chords, super simple progressions.
Well, I just was fooling around. I just was playing three blind mice with using three chords, the three strings here.
Yeah,
Blues version of Three Blind Mice.
you do, and I like it enough to where we're talking about having too many guitars. I'm selling mine. I'm getting rid of a whole bunch. In fact, I'm lower than Michael now. I'm underneath him. I sold less, but I keep a DADGAD guitar within reach all the time during my songwriting. I use standard a lot too, but I keep a DADGAD where I can reach it during my songwriting deals. I enjoy it that much, so I keep one there. And if I think that I want to go in that direction, or even just use it to write, it's right there, so I can just grab it and go.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. It is kind of fun. So it's cool.
So keep that flat sound in it. We all go after the farmer's wife. Cut off
Yep.
his head with a carving knife. Have you ever seen such a fight in your life? Three blind mice.
Yes, somebody just put in chat. Yeah, Clay, ClayMills. He runs a songwriting teaching, and I'm not doing commercials for him. Don't get me wrong. I played a bunch of festivals with him. I have a lot of respect for him because he's so successful, and I got to spend some time with him. But he runs something called Songtown that many of you are in because I've seen you there. I've seen you show up, and it's just a music training website. I try every day to get a little bit better, as you do too, and I try to make sure sometime during the day I watch a video, I watch a podcast, I watch something that makes me a little bit better songwriter than I was the day before. So I try to do that, and it's one of those places. Hey, thanks, Michael. I just saw that pop up. Thank you. And I've seen Michael hanging around there too. But it is. I'm not doing a commercial for him. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of these out there, but I, I do think it's good for the songwriter to find you some place that is just sharing songwriter knowledge that you can just jump into daily. And some days you get something real cool. Sometimes it's not so much, but you're moving forward, moving in the right direction. Sorry, I'm being a
Do you
teacher
have
now.
any other? Do you have any other songs like instrumental kind of thing that you do?
I have not done. I do a lot of instrumentals. Instrumentals are a big part of what I do, but I do all my instrumentals in standard tuning. I don't do any instrumentals in DADGAD, but this book is full of them, written out in tab and all kinds of stuff. There are people that are huge instrumental guitarist that do it all in DADGAD. Another thing about it is when I first watched him do it, I was probably 3 festivals with him before I got to meet him in person. Uh, he kind of mesmerized me because he was doing all this stuff on guitar and I couldn't figure out what he was doing. I go, well, what are you doing? I knew it was alternate tunings, but that's all kind of an interesting thing too when you play live. You throw in something that's really different, and it's kind of interesting. That song that I just played for you, if it's enough of a show where I have more than 15 or 20 minutes, I'll bring another guitar and DADGAD, and I'll switch over and do a DADGAD tune, just to be different, just to be fresh, just to be different, and it never fails that every time I do it, some guitarists come up to me after and goes, "Whoa, what were you doing? What was that?" So always an interesting conversation starter. Fun thing to say. It's just DADGAD tuning, nothing to it, but it's
Well, if you know how to play scales, if you know the scale intervals. I mean, I was just fooling around here, and hit the second string, second fret, and the third be the third string, fourth fret, or if you start on that D there,
right.
but then you move it up, and then you hit the second string, second fret. You can start. You can hit. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a great. You play a scale there, and it sounds cool.
it does. It does. It's a pretty cool deal. Said
Sounds like a dulcimer.
yes, I've used it a good bit to write, and like I said, if you just want to come up with a cool melody that you've never written before, put it in the key of D and put it on top of these chords. Use a capo if you need to put it in whatever another key. You can actually play in G with this chart. There's a G C D there, which you could actually just from this chart right here. If you want to use a 1 4 5 in G, you can actually do that from the chart.
What about a CFG?
I don't have the F on there. The F's kind of weird. I can look it up for you, but I didn't put it on that chart. But yes, you could for sure do it. You can sure do a C, F, and G. That wouldn't be an issue. Um,
Oh, good grief. I thought it was muted. I'm sorry. I had no idea I was playing in front of you guys.
so this is a little start. The chart is in the chat. If you guys want it, it is in there, uh, and you can
Here's
pull
a
it if you
G.
want.
I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just something else for the guitar players to have out there. So, anyway, that's about all I've got. I hope it's something that you guys can at least know what it is, and if you want to play around with it, it's fun. It's fun to play around with.
Yeah, it's something really fun to play around with. I've never looked at it before, but I like to play around with stuff, and I can see this taking up a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wrote a song that this would be perfect if I can get the CFG to work.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's think about it. Let's find your F while we're here. Let's find it. I'm going to grab my guitar. I'm just going to go back to music theory person. Let's look at what we've got here. We need to take this tuning and we need to find a C, F, and a G. And okay, so an F chord. We need to find an F chord. So we need to find a C. Sorry, an FAC, uh, which I think we can do.
Open the book.
What's that? You got it.
Tab.
All right. So we have an F on the third fret of the fourth string. So we got an F there. We have an A, an open A on the fifth. So it's going to be fine for it to be in there. It'd be a first inversion, but it is fine. We got an A on the second string, so the A is good. It's a chord tone. We'll take on the third string, you press down the second fret, which is going to give you another A. And all we're going to need to find now is a C. We need to find a C. So, okay, I got it. Okay, here we go. Fifth string, third fret. Fourth string, third fret. And a third string, second fret. There we go. There's the F. Now I got that D. I got that D droning in there, but that's the whole.
Yeah.
That's the whole vibe of the deal. So there's your F. It looks like the top of a C. It looks like the top of a C when you have the G in the bass. That's what the pattern kind of looks like in the standard tuning. It looks like an E. Looks like an E. Looks like an E. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So there's your F chord. Your C's there. Your G's there. So you should be able to roll with that. And Barb just said you looked it up in the book. It's probably a more complex fingering than that.
So you're saying second fret, second string. Now, when you're saying second string, we're going like.
I'm saying a
E,
second
D.
fret, third string.
Okay.
Then you got fifth string, third fret. Fourth string, third fret. It looks like an E.
Oh. Oh.
It looks like an E. Do not play the sixth string, and your first string is going to be a drone.
Okay.
I think I did that right. I don't know. I was going fast. I think we got it in there. I just figured out the fly. But I'll Google it. Google DADGAD F, and it'll pop
Okay.
right up. It'll pop right up. Just Google DADGAD F, and it'll pop right up.
And there's
And,
the DADGAD tuning too.
okay. Very cool.
Those for hip dads, the DADGAD.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Jeff
Thank you very much.
Bridges uses that.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys. Very fun. Very fun. Let me know
Fun
if you
stuff.
let me know if you come up with any hit songs.
Thank you, Jamie. That is fun stuff.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's a privilege to be here and talk to all you
And it's
talented songwriters. I enjoy being there, and I'll see you at the Wildflower. I'll be out there
all right. Very good.
sometime
Very
this
good.
weekend. So very good.